which political party, whether the PDP, the All Progressives Congress, or the APGA. And of course, we have joining us at this moment just one of the aspiring political leaders in Anambra State, or political candidates and aspiring political candidates of the People's Democratic Party, Dr. IFEDI OKWENNA. He is also he was also a former commissioner of environment under the leadership of the former governor Peter Obi, and of course he will be taking us through the development in Anambra State and the coming governorship election in 2021. Good to have you here in the studio.
It's my pleasure coming back.
All right, good morning, Dr. OKWENNA.
Yeah,
I think I had to take some lecture on that. Now, Dr. OKWENNA, let's look at the development in Anambra State. Let's have your assessment of the development in Anambra State as it currently stands. You are a leader from that area.
Yeah, thank you very much. Anambra State is a peculiar state in the sense that God blessed Anambra State very well. Have a rich resource, human and natural, in Anambra State. And when it was created in 1991, who thought we were going to be another Singapore in the making. Very small state in terms of landmass, huge population. Indeed, we are thinking of a city-state. And our first governor, Dr. Chukwuemeka, took over and planned very well for the development of the state. Of course, he didn't stay too long. He was there for only 21 months. The military took over. And they were military postings, so we weren't expecting anything from them. We arrived in 1999 when the Excellency Chungo came on board. Well, the circumstances of his coming on board was unfortunate. It did not allow him to do anything. And it was a lost 4 years. And Chris Inge came. His election was continuously challenged by P2P. Well, in order to make an impression, he started a semblance of governance. We thought, for the first time, we saw that government can do a project. Hitherto, we never saw that. Well, when P2P arrived the scene in 2006, he laid a solid foundation for the growth of the state. He picked the state from where it's known for bad reason to a state where others envy the state. We became leaders. We worked with international development partners. The INEED program came on board, integrated development of Anambra State, and all sectors benefited from that. In 2014, he left the scene. And 7 years down the line, we're having a reversal, in the sense that the projections of post-P2B era was not being met. And part of the issue is that you don't solve a novel challenges with traditional method. You may not, nobody says the current governor is not doing something. He's doing something, but we need a quantum leap. We need to move, because the challenges are becoming many. If you look at Anambra, we have migration issue. A lot of our youth are moving out to different parts of the world. We have issue of population explosion. More and more population increase in the citizens. We have an issue of security challenges. The urban environment on Asia is decaying. Oka and the Newu are not, the planning made by UN Habitat are not being followed. So they continue from the traditional village setting they came up. And if you do assessment of industrial town of Newu, even the temperature on a normal day is higher than normal.
Maybe you just touched on the industrial growth. Let's look at what it is like now in terms of, Onitsha and most of the other cities. Anambra as an industrial hub. What is the situation right now?
Yeah, there was great expectation in industrial development of Anambra. Onitsha is an industrial state, an industrial city. Same with Nnewi. But what we're saying, those areas is that it's like a spontaneous development where industries exist alongside residential areas. So you find that basic things that you need to think about industrial development are not there. In most cases, you find that the infrastructure backbone, infrastructure support to these industries are lacking. Most of these industries are mini municipal governments. Give themselves water, some of them tie their roads, some of them pay waste management fees and yet carry their wastes away. Most of them provide themselves with water. So the basic support that the industries need to thrive is lacking. And that's why in some cases their products are either costly or doesn't match the international best standard.
When you talk about the fact that there's been a lack of infrastructural support in the what I call it, the business or commercial hub of Anambra State, as it were, talking about Nnewi and of course Onitsha. You know, that brings to mind the works or perhaps the good works of some successive government. You did mention of Chris Ngige when he was the governor of Anambra State, and of course Peter Obi. These people made marks in terms of infrastructural development in Anambra State, and today Anambra is believed to be a hub or a base for technocrats and business gurus. So what will be different from the previous that you intend bringing on board or changing the face of Onitsha?
Well, like I said, you don't solve novel challenges with traditional method. You find that we need basically to innovate Anambra State. Anambra State, in terms of infrastructure, need to be innovated. Because when you look at what the two former governors have done, the roads are gradually going bad, deteriorating again. And there should be a strategy for continuous and sustainable development of this. Our cities are decaying. We need to massive urban renewal. Our transport system today need to be re-engineered and re-innovated. Even trade and commerce, which is the hub of Anambra State, because we are the traders, businessmen, and engineers, and industrialists of Nigeria. That area need to equally to be rejigged and re-innovated, because the traditional trade system is gradually losing. You
know, some critics will say that it's not traditional to take the words of a politician to bank when it comes to development of a state. Now, just like you were talking about revamping infrastructure in Anambra State, we've had previous, government personnel, executives, give similar promise. And recently, in 2017, when the contest was keen between the APC candidate and that of the APGA, that is talking about the current incumbent governor and that of the APC, several promises were made as regards infrastructure development. So what Nigerians would want to know is what will be the different drive you have in terms of developing Anambra State?
Well, I'm a product of a system. Basically, the P2B system endured, and we're the engine room that made that system. So you take it from that point in time, from that particular point. Secondly, you look at antecedents. I headed Environment Ministry, and anybody who saw Environment Ministry while I was in charge, we know that that was the golden moment of Anambra environment. So a lot of things, that was when we were able to revamp and clean and decongest Onitsha. That was the time we were able to tackle numerous erosion and climatic change challenges of the state. That was the time we were able to look at flood management schemes, design flood management schemes across the state. The Oka capital city, we lost 3 federal roads during that period. But in a question, within the Nnewi Highway was able to, we returned it under 2 months. The Ekulobia Omuchian erosion was solved under a few months.
You may have done so well.
We were responding fast, as it were, than what is happening.
You may have done so well when you were the Commissioner of Environment under Peter Obi. But would you also agree with those who would say that perhaps your works may not metamorphose into a robust economy when you become the governor of the state?
Yeah, thank you very much. You see, we are coming from a strategy. We have something, we have a system we are following. I have a trajectory. I have a manifesto. I have the economic plan. I know the strategy I'm going to follow.
Could you take us through your economic plan and your manifesto?
Well, let me start with economic plan. Our economic plan, if it pleases God to make me governor, will be anchored on strong private sector driven economy. We are going to be able to spread our resources on areas of needs. We are going to tag our policy as CIDAS. CIDAS, Comprehensive Integrated Development of Anambra State. And CIDAS, the strategy under CIDAS is to comprehensively bring citizen participation in integrated development of all sectors and all parts of the state. We're not going to be segregating against any person or or practice nepotism in terms of citing projects. We're going to make sure we spread that. And we are going to look forward to creating wealth. CIDAS is anchored on the principle of Sustainable Development Goal. It is a successor to ANIS. ANIS was anchored on Millennium Development Goals, which has ended in 2015. Now we are talking of CIDAS. CIDAS will be anchored on SDG, making sure that we're able to look at indices of development as initiated in UN Vision 2030. We are going to look at the way we make every person to make people to have wealth by providing opportunities for entrepreneurial development. Anambra man is such a person that if you give him leadership, he's a very active person, very, very strong person, that if you give him leadership and provide him with basic infrastructure, he has no business with poverty.
Maybe you should try and link CIDAS to agriculture also, because food security definitely is very important. Not forgetting that this contributes about 40% to Nigeria's gross domestic product, including that of Anambra. Now, we've seen the effort of the International Fund for Agricultural Development, that's IFEDI, in Anambra State. Now, would we say that the state is really tapping into its potential for agriculture? And how would you also link that to CIDAS, which you just mentioned?
Yeah, actually, we have a very rich arable land. Our potentials are not being met. So what we are trying to do is that we are going to, under CIDAS, be able to reinvent agriculture in Anambra State. We are going to create designate 11 local governments as agricultural belt. And within these 11 local governments, these are rural and semi-urban local governments with a lot of land. Under the agricultural belt, we are going to create farm estates within this agricultural belt. Because the essence of it is that if you say, I'm going to give people basic this, basic that, they end up not producing. So within the farm estates, we are going to ensure that if it's fish farming, an estate will be designated in each of the 11 areas for fish farming. And we are going to build fish ponds in partnership with the private sector and allow the citizens to rent these ponds, develop these ponds, and we're going to create marketing board, the Anambra Marketing Board, that will be able to assist these farmers in providing farm inputs and in buying back their product. The greatest problem farmers have is the produce, selling their produce. We're creating a marketing board that will be able to prepare them to buy off this produce once they are produced. If you want to go into poultry farm, we have a good poultry system already, but it's not expanding. We're going to, within this farm estates, create poultry farms where people can leverage and enter into poultry farming. And from there again, the marketing board is there to assist. The same thing with other areas like farm produce, like ugu, like tomato, and all those things. We're going to do a hybrid farming to find out some of those things that we get from outside the Anambra State, whether we can produce it, we are going to think of ranching. It's a very important because Anambra State consume, maybe after Lagos, we consume next to Lagos in terms of meat from cows. So we're going to develop ranching. And that ranching, we're going to get some species of cattle, and then produce a hybrid with our own Ehibo. We have our own brand of cow, which is going extinct now. It used to be big. So we want to get that and do a crossbreeding with what we can get in, say, Botswana or Namibia. When we do that, we now have our own brand. Then we set up our dairy farm, where this female will be able to produce milk, yogurt, and all those things. And we are going to make people, because we are going to give subsidies and input. We are going to create an agri-institute to be able to leverage on research, continuous research and improvement, because we want to innovate. When I talk about innovation, innovation is in agriculture, in health, in education, in trade and commerce, in industry. We are going to innovate every sector. The core is that try to innovate and bring new team into the sector you are trying to innovate.
You indeed have some very impressive blueprints for Anambra State, or agendas, should you become governor. But we also don't know that the incumbent governor of the state, Willie Obiano, has done tremendously well according to some quarters in terms of agricultural development in Anambra State. And the farmers over the last few years, according to some people, we have more of the news of they smiling to the bank. And I'm wondering what other change you intend bringing, contrary to what is being done in Anambra State. Would you also focus on the issue of gully erosion, which is fast wiping of some areas in Anambra?
Of course, well, the concept of anybody doing well it depends on who is assessing or who is making the assessment. I'm not going to say Obiano is doing too badly, but all we're saying is that looking at where he's coming from and where he started, his best may not be too good for Anambra State as where we are today. And coming back to the issue of gully erosion you mentioned about, we are erosion-prone state. And I still refer you, when I was a commissioner, I was able to did a census of erosion sites, and we have 665 erosion sites as at then. And we were able to do a comprehensive design and costing of about 185 of them. And we constructed and restored 16 sites. These are deep, very active sites. As a governor, it's like my area. Anambra State will benefit immensely from that, because I'm going to start from precautionary measures, because we know why erosion is taking place in Anambra State. If you look at erosion problem, erosion is caused by human and the climatic factors. The climatic factors, of course, where we find ourselves, the climate, the soil structure is there promoting erosion. Now, as human beings, the human factor is in terms of agricultural practices, in terms of road building, construction, building of houses, people blocking the flood channels. Now, we'll start by protective measures. The protective measures is that every Anambra man, before you cut a tree, you plant a tree. It will be a policy of the government. We'll make sure that every project that are likely to cause adverse impact on our environment and EIA is conducted. We must conduct an EIA, and government must be there to enforce it. We must be able to ensure that what the drainage channels on road construction terminates at a wetland, so that you don't just see a runoff, terminate your channel at a steep. Of course, water will find its level, and when it finds a soft soil, it starts cutting and slumping, and that is how erosion develops. So we will try as much as possible as a people to protect, so that these causes of erosion are reduced. Before water comes out of your compound, you must know where that flood is going. So these are some of the things. Then on the issue of solving the particular problem, the already active size, of course, we'll continue to do a new census. The new map project is there, which is done in consultation, in conjunction with the federal government and the World Bank. We will inject more funds, meet our counterpart contributions, and ensure that it's sustained. Even when the federal government is trying to, if they want to stop, we try to synergize and see how they can continue, because we in the Southeast, and Anambra in particular, is benefiting much from the NUMA project, because we have so many numerous erosion sites in all parts of the state, which we must contain. And with an assistance from federal government and the World Bank, it will help us. And we will contain a lot of active sites in the state. We are going to, because most of the infrastructure, let me round up, most of the infrastructure development is being impaired. If you come to Oka, the House of Assembly, the judiciary, and where we call the triangle zone, is being threatened by erosion. So you can't allow such a thing to continue.
All right.
No.
And again, flood channelization. We'll make sure we do a flood design and channelization system, so that urban flood is not allowed to flow recklessly into every land.
Now let's look at healthcare and education. The COVID-19, has exposed what the current healthcare system in Nigeria is in general, and we see how it's been tough trying to manage the situation. The healthcare facilities in the local areas, the primary healthcare facilities, most of them are almost, they're just buildings without, most of the infrastructure needed. Now, for you, speak to us on your blueprint for healthcare and education.
Yeah, thank you very much. Healthcare aspect, my health plan is something too dear to me, because you must be alive and healthy to be able to do all these things we are trying to do. I noticed that, yes, when we came with P2B in 2006, you go to our prime hospitals, like General Hospital in Onitsha. You go to the theater, people use bush lantern, to do operations. It was that bad. But today, certain things have been done in that area. We must uplift our healthcare system. We must leverage on what we have today to develop what we want to be. Now, I noticed that the major problem to health is accessibility to health facilities, 1. 2, fund. 3, the health personnel themselves being available. My plan is taking care of all these 3 areas. We will make sure that we support the primary health care and make sure every community have a well-equipped primary health care center. The secondary health care, every local government, today there are some local governments that don't have general hospitals. We must extend it to every local government, and some local governments that are large, they will have more than 1 general hospitals. We will have specialist hospitals, the tertiary centers. Then we now have our funding plan. How do you fund our health? Which is very, very important. If I don't have money, I don't go to hospital. For that, we are going to have our community health insurance scheme. Anambra man has this system of helping themselves. If we enlarge our community health insurance system, every family will pay for themselves at the beginning of January every year. And we will have more than enough for the whole year. And the money will be subsidized by government, because how much are we going to have? Somebody may pay 5,000 or 10,000 naira in a year for health insurance, and it will take him or her all through the year, even when you have a life-threatening illness, because it's a collection or pool of resources that will be used to solve that problem. Now, what is too dear to me is the Anambra State Emergency Health Scheme. I'm going to provide a minimum of 2 ambulances per local government with medical personnel on 247, like you do Uber. If you are sick and you're in an emergency situation, you press a button on your phone, dial a number. In the next 5 minutes, an ambulance with well-equipped ambulance with medical personnel is there at your doorstep. Through that, we can save people from dying, the life of every Anambra man will be too important for me as a governor, and I wouldn't like to lose it.
You know, when we hear you talk about some of your agendas for the state, or perhaps some of your innate desires for the state in terms of development, what also comes to mind is the fact that these things cannot come to bear
Unless there's fund.
and of course you become the candidate of a party, and
Yes.
of course also becoming the governor of Anambra State. And that of course takes me to my next question. The All Progressive Grand Alliance, APGA, has been in power in Anambra State for 15 years. They have held sway. The closest to which it came, it was almost pulled down in 2017, was the contest, the keen contest between the APC candidate, Tony Woye, and the APGA candidate. And of course, at the end of the day, APGA still, you know, maintained the office. So I'm wondering how you intend also running under the PDP and defeating the APGA, as it were.
Thank you very much. This is a very good question. Let me tell you that Anambra is one of the strongest PDP states. Check it. Senators, House of Reps, House of Assembly. Majority, apart from House of Assembly, are PDP members. We had this problem that each election year, problem are stoked into the PDP family. And the APGA government will quickly find a way to cause one confusion or the other for them to remain in power. But today, who are the APGA? Who are the PDP? I was a former national secretary of APGA. I was the person funding APGA in Anambra State with the assistance of my governor. Governor Obi was an APGA governor for 8 years. Today, what you know as APGA of yesteryears are all PDP members, because they felt that APGA was hijacked by a clannish group. And what you hear or heard about of APGA of yesterday is no longer there. So PDP is being rejigged. As a matter of fact, Anambra is for PDP to lose, as it stands today. You know why I say so? If PDP are united and a credible primaries conducted, I tell you, we will take over the power effortlessly. But like I said, it's for them to lose. If we start the normal system of not running a credible system or trying to impose people to take over this, a situation where you see somebody being imported somewhere and imposed on the system that is there. We know ourselves in PDP family in Anambra State. And if you impose any system that we don't like, you see the problem. It's just like what we are talking about zoning as it is today in Anambra. Anambra State, where I come from, had been out of power for the past 17 years. Will not be an leave office to be 19 years. And people are playing politics with, oh, we don't want zoning. We don't. The highest number of years SAT has governed Anambra was just for 5 years, when Central has been there for 11 years, not with there for 8 years. And we're now saying, let it move to South. It mustn't be a constitutional issue, but it must be a gentleman understanding, like zoning is in any party. APGA is going South. APC is going South. If PDP refuses to go South, definitely it's fall back to what I said, that is for PDP to lose.
So the
let me ask you a question that follow-up question to what you just raised. You mentioned you said if there is an import is done, like I'm sure you are referring to something that happened recently. Say for example, you have that kind of situation in Anambra, and you as an aspirant is being asked to probably step down. Would it be something difficult for you to do if you have someone coming from another party and your national leadership requests that you step down for the person, and your word, you say import?
Thank you very much. You see, there are ways PDP family handle their affairs. If there's a mutual discussion and understanding, being a party man, you'll be able to consider the party interest. Like I told people, I'm a party man, I'm a PDP man. I don't have alternative party to go if I lose primaries. But on the condition that you don't rubber stamp and try to feel that people don't matter. If what you are referring to happened and there was, you see how PDP family quickly arrested it and then were able to agree and mutually move in. That is a matured way of handling issues. But you know, in some cases, oh, they will say, this one, he won't do anything, let's allow it to happen. We'll do it, we'll force it on his throat. You see, there is no man that will tell another man that he can't do anything. So I think the PDP leadership as of today is quite different from what we have in the past. I feel that if such a thing will arise, which I doubt, because we don't have, our governor is having his second term, he's going. He doesn't have another 4 years to go, so nobody will bring a sitting governor to us. Even if the man is to come, we will have said no because he didn't perform for the years we've given him. He has not done anything much. So in that case, we found that we are in safe hands, that PDP family, as we have today, will do the needful and ensure that we take over.
All right,
Anambra is there for us to take.
You made mention of something quite germane, which is, of course, that the PDP leadership structure is quite different from what we had the previous time. But I know that in 2017, the same crop of leaders we have in the APC, were still in the PDP, were still the same leaders who conducted the governorship election. With
you know that 2019 has done a lot of things for us.
I'm talking about 2017, yeah. I beg your pardon. But then, apart from the PDP and APGA, the APC has become a very strong and formidable force to reckon with in Anambra State. How does the PDP intend to wrestle power with the APC on one side and APGA on the other side?
PDP is not, APC is not a strong force in Anambra State, unless you are talking of a situation where the party sometimes use federal might. And I think Oshomole is no longer there, so federal might might not be there again. So you see, when you impose the federal, using your federal might, get over the security agencies and all that, that is not election. I overheard Patrick Utomi before I came in talking about elections, the positions and the allocation of offices. So that is a different thing. But if you are talking of the APC family today in Anambra State, they can be major force when you compare with PDP and APGA. It's supposed to be a race for the two major parties, the leading, the governing party and the leading opposition, which the PDP is still in the state. So why we put APC as a third force in Anambra election is because we are seeing them as government at the center. And in a third world, government at the center does a lot of things to be able to show the brigandage which politics sometimes are known for. So, but I think basically this is the contest between PDP and APGA.
All right, we may have to end the conversation at this point. Thank you very much for sharing your thought and aspiration for the 2021 governorship election, off-cycle election in Anambra State. And we wish you well ahead of that time, Dr. IFEDI OKWENNA. He is of the People's Democratic Party. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Thanks for joining us.
It's my pleasure for giving me the opportunity.
All right, that's it on the program for this morning. I want to thank you indeed for being a part of it. Do enjoy the rest of your day. I'm Ehizo J. Momo.
And I'm Chiko Dunaka Ize. Remember that you can always share your views and thoughts via our Twitter handle @AITKK. In the meantime, have yourself a rewarding day.